The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage left, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Oh, what a week it has been, because justice perhaps is coming, because a jury in Virginia indicted Tish James earlier this week. And boy, you want to talk about opening monologues that write themselves. Well, let's play cut 15, because this is Tish James back in 2022 telling all of us that nobody is above the law and white-collar crimes are really, really bad, like the one she probably committed now. Let's go with Tish James. Cut 15, go.
Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization saved an estimated $150 million by receiving favorable interest rates that were only provided based on the false and misleading statements of financial condition. White-collar financial crime is not a victimless crime. When the well-connected break the law, it reduces resources to working people, to regular people.
Now, let's review this, by the way. She says that Trump inflated his property values like Mar-a-Lago, which she and the judge somehow came to the conclusion that Mar-a-Lago is worth only $18 million. The tennis court at Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. The Cabana House is worth $18 million. That thing, Palm Beach, on the water, 58 bedrooms, that a president owns is probably worth closer to $1 billion. And if you look at real estate down there, even these small 3-bedroom townhouses are worth like $18 million. So please. So she was wrong on that. The judge obviously was biased, but also Tish James here, it's right on paper. She literally said that her dad was her husband in order to get better loans. Ironically enough, the exact thing that she accused Trump of, she is now indicted for. And you see CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, everybody saying, well, this is Trump trying to get revenge. No, this is Trump just playing by Tish James's rules, which is white-collar crimes are not victimless crimes, and you can't be committing mortgage fraud in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. What can you say? Karma is a female dog, and Tish James is about to find out exactly what that means. Back with more in just a moment, including Eric Trump joins us to talk about his new book. And then we have another special guest that I will tease later for you. But let's just say you're going to want to stick around for the full hour. I'm Joe Concha. Stick around.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage left, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Okay, let's bring in best-selling author. Already, the book doesn't even come out until Tuesday, but sure enough, we have Eric Trump here. He is the author of Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save the Nation. Eric, thanks for joining. We really appreciate it.
It's great to be on, Joe.
Absolutely. So, I interviewed your dad for my book, and this is after he won, and he was generous enough to give me 45 minutes, which, he works pretty much 23 hours a day, so to get that much time with an incoming president was very cool. And it's funny because my dad asked me before I interviewed him, he said, what is your first question to the president going to be? And I said, well, I think it's pretty obvious. I wanted to know, and you obviously were witness to this, and just I want to get your thoughts as far as what you were going through and feeling. But I said, I want to ask the president, and this is what I did ask him. I said, you're on the ground, you feel blood on your face, Secret Service is on top of you, and for whatever reason, you got up and stood above all of them and yelled, fight, fight, fight. I said, sir, how did you not know there wasn't a second shooter out there, that you were safe enough to do that? What compelled you to do that in the moment? Because I know I would have said, get me the hell out of here. And he said, you know what? I knew my kids were watching. I knew my wife was watching, the country was watching, and the world was watching. He said, there was a stretcher on that stage they wanted me to get onto. And I said, there's no effing way I'm going on that stretcher. I'm going to say fight, 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 because this movement's not going to be stopped. And just every time I bring this up in a speech, that is like the big applause line, as it should be. So my question to you, Eric, is where were you when July 13th, Butler, Pennsylvania happened, and what was going through your head?
Joe, I went to so many of those rallies. I stayed home for that one. As you remember, the RNC was 2 days later. I was a delegate in Florida that was going to make my father, Republican nominee for president of the United States. I had my kids on my lap. I had a 4-year-old and 6-year-old, my 4-year-old daughter, my 6-year-old son. Laura was in the room, and obviously we saw it, unfold on TV. And I jumped up. My face was probably an inch away from the TV. I was trying to see if he got hit in the chest, right? Obviously, he's wearing a dark color suit, so if he had, if he got hit in the chest or the abdomen, you'd never be able to see the blood because he's wearing a dark color suit. And we were all trying to figure out what the hell happened. Obviously, we saw that he got hit because the blood's falling down his face and his hands. And it's a day that I'll never forget. And frankly, I talked a lot about it in the book because I'm pissed off, right? I mean, you mentioned Under Siege on the way in here, and it did go to number one, and I think when it comes out on Tuesday, I think it's going to rattle a lot of people. I was incredibly direct. I'm pissed off about Butler. I mean, there's 1,000 questions that have not been answered about Butler. We know nothing about the shooter. They got to the phone of every single January 6th protester, grandmother who walked through the Capitol, but a guy who tries to blow my father's head off on national TV, a former president of the United States, and somebody who was soon to be president again, based on where the polls were at that point. We have one picture of the guy. The guy got cremated about 4 hours later. I'm pissed off. There's a lot of answers that I think this country needs, and no one's gotten yet. And we better get to the bottom of who he is, what he was doing, who he's talking to. And, I spent a lot of time talking about that in the book. And by the way, that's the mercy of God, because there's no question God was looking down. You don't miss a 130-yard shot with a modern rifle, sitting on a rooftop. I mean, the fact that he turned his head when he did is the only reason he's here with us today.
And Eric, we're talking to Eric Trump, and that was one chart that he never looked at before. And if you watch his rallies, and obviously you've been to 1,000, to turn his head in that sort of 90-degree motion, that he never really had to do that. Everything was usually more in front of him, or he just obviously was speaking extemporaneously. So yeah, in that exact moment for that to happen, I agree with you. God was looking down. I'm curious, and there are so many questions about that assassination attempt, and you have every right to be pissed. The whole country was, I think, or at least the sane ones. How does a 20-year-old kid like Thomas Crooks get up onto a building with the one line of sight to the president on a stage, able to hide a high-powered rifle behind an air conditioner next to that building, and no one decided to, check the buildings or be on top of the building at the time? We heard from the Secret Service head at the time that, it was too sloped and it was kind of hot up there. Well, that's part of the job, guys. And you're right. Thomas Crooks had multiple phones. He flew a drone over the site a day beforehand. Yep. And then, like Osama bin Laden almost, they felt they had to get rid of the body right away, so they cremated it. And we never hear from the family or anybody again. Of course, the media's memory hold this. So I'm sure I'd love to see more accountability here, but it feels like this thing's been memory hold at this point. And I mean, this is something that obviously to this day we should be investigating.
Sure. And by the way, this is like a tale of two cities, right? I mean, I know every single one of, aside from obviously, being best friends with my father and loving him to death and running the Trump organization, I know every single agent on that stage. They have all been with me, for years in some capacity, right? The girl that was on that stage, she was with me for 3 years, phenomenal. The two guys at the back, obviously Sean, who runs the Secret Service now, I know and these are the best things. I mean, they ran into oncoming fire. The fact that you could leave a rooftop, and I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about the ones that showed up.
They're in charge of the stage, basically, not the perimeter.
Right. Yeah, and they showed up with him to a secure site 3 seconds earlier. I mean, he arrived 5 minutes before he went up on stage, right? So they're not the ones securing the site.
Yep.
The fact that you had Kimberly Cheadle, and I talk about this in the book, right? And I'm a competitive shooter. My entire life has been competitive long-range shooting. You know, it's a big part of who I am. I think you know that as friends. You know, the fact that Kimberly Cheadle is out there saying that the roof had too much slope, whereas the roof where the actual CS guys, the counter snipers were, I mean, had a roof that was exponentially more sloped. And then 3 days later, you had, 75, 80-year-old congressmen walking across the roof like it was absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
They lied to us. They lied to us. They screwed up. My father almost lost his head because they screwed up, and it's unacceptable. And we still know nothing about who the person is. We've seen one picture of him. I mean, we know more about a gang member out of Chicago that was deported to Venezuela than we do about the guy who tried to change, the free world. And no, it pisses me off. And honestly, I spend a lot of time in Under Siege talking about this. But Joe, that's the whole concept of this book. They did everything they could to kill my father, to kill our family, to bankrupt us between the Russia smears, right? The dirty dossiers. Me getting calls from the FBI saying, I hear you have secret servers communicating with the Kremlin in the basement of Trump Tower. I mean, every AG, every DA in this country, right? I got 112 subpoenas. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. The raids on Mar-a-Lago, the raids on Melania's room and Barron's room. I mean, the censorship, right? Taking us off of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I mean, they wanted to take down our family in any way, shape, or form. And after they tried everything, when nothing else worked, that's when they tried to kill him the first time. That's when they tried to kill him the second time at the golf course. And they put our company, they put our family, they put my father, and they put all of us. I mean, you, me, the entire movement, they put us all under siege as they weaponized the IRS to go after religious institutions, conservative institutions, as they stripped people's, freedom of speech. I mean, they censored all of us. They came after all of us in this country, and it was a siege. It was the greatest siege of all time.
And the greatest comeback of all time. I mean, it must have been, we're talking to Eric Trump, he is the author of Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save the Nation, out Tuesday, but you can buy it now anywhere that you buy books, like Amazon and the like. As far as that second assassination attempt, again, I did a speech at Trump International back in May for the book, and I decided to walk where Ryan Ruth was sitting in a sniper's nest outside of the 6th hole. And it was kind of a known place where you could get a photograph of the president playing golf because you had a clear line of sight to the green. And he was there for more than 12 hours with all of this military equipment, and no one walked the perimeter. I mean, again, that is something that is just... You get to the point where it's like, was this intentional? Because that seems like, I'm not a Secret Service agent, you're not, but that's pretty 101 stuff to walk the perimeter of a golf course before the president, or in this case, a presidential candidate, is about to play, and who, by the way, is the most targeted person on the planet.
So, Joe, I've only told this story once before, and I did it at an award when the officers that arrested Ruth were getting their bravery medals. But it was actually my best friend that arrested him. I was north on 95. I was with my friend. He's a Palm Beach County SWAT officer. He got the call that the guy was going north on 95. Hopped in his car. I'm 10 minutes behind him. I'm 5 minutes behind him. We were doing something together. We were driving south on 95. He does a U-turn on 95 across the median, grabs his M4 out of the back of the car, and my best friend, having left me 5 minutes before, was the one that you see on the Fox News video that actually was the guy that arrested Ruth. And I drove right by him. I mean, I was 25 yards away from Ruth. His hands were out the car window. It took every ounce of my energy not to take my truck, go across the median, and rip the guy out of his car. I mean, I was so enraged after what happened, in Butler. And then 8 weeks later to have, to be driving, within 20 yards of a guy, again, his hands out the window at this point. Every rifle in South Florida was pointed at the back of this guy's car at that point, helicopters overhead. But I mean, the guy was 20 yards away from me at the time. And, it's just one of these crazy coincidences in life. But no, I mean, it's how he wasn't seen, how he got to a golf course, how he could have a long gun, 40 yards off of a green. No, I mean, these things are the things that, that you can only imagine how pissed off we are as a family that something like that is allowed to happen. This can't happen. This can't happen. And by the way, Kimberly Cheadle did deny resources. I mean, and I know this because I personally asked. I personally asked for more resources. I personally kept on coming out and saying, listen, they've tried everything they could to destroy my father's life, to take him down. They're going to resort to violence. I said that on Sean Hannity's show, and people kept on saying, Eric, you're an alarmist. And then sure enough, 6 weeks later, Butler happened, and 8 weeks after that, obviously the golf course incident happened. So you can only imagine how pissed off I am as a son and as somebody who loves my father dearly.
Absolutely. We're talking Eric Trump. Under Siege is the book. And 5 days before Butler, Joe Biden, who was the sitting president at the time, said it was time to put Donald Trump in a bullseye. Like literally a sitting president said that. And that kind of rhetoric that we've seen, we're seeing it this week, for example. Jay Jones, attorney general candidate in Virginia, not only wished death on a political opponent, but also his wife and his young children, 2 and 4 years old, calling them little fascists, says he wanted to piss on the graves of Republican lawmakers after they died, and even said that more cops have to be shot in order for them to change the way they go about doing their business. This person will not drop out of the race, and no Democrat has denounced, well, they've denounced Jay Jones, but they haven't called on him to actually drop out of the race, which is truly incredible. So it's almost like, Eric, a permission slip for violence to the far left is winking a nod like, yeah, you said that stuff, but, while we find it pretty disturbing, you still should probably be the top cop in Virginia. That must piss you off as well.
Well, of course it does. And then I get to go on CNN and you hear about them asking me to take down the rhetoric, and I kind of laugh, right? I've only seen the bullets fly one way, right? Again, between Charlie Kirk, he was a dear friend of all of ours, right? I get to see blood flowing out the front of my buddy's, spewing out the front of my buddy's neck, and obviously what they did to Steve Scalise, what they tried to do to my father twice, what they tried to do to Kavanaugh, the amount of envelopes full of white powder that I've opened up. And Laura's opened up in our kitchen where, white powder goes flying all over the place. I mean, and what they always do, right? The violence in this country is only going one way, and it's crazy. It has to stop. These people, it has to stop. But here's the good news, right? Because this is a really dark conversation. The good news is when you see what happened to Charlie Kirk, right? They thought they could cut the head off the lion, and the exact opposite actually happened. What actually happened is you have every church in this country that's full on a Sunday, right? What actually happened is you had hundreds of thousands of people, showing up to Cardinal Stadium to honor Charlie's life. What actually happened is you've had more Bible sales, in the last month than probably in years. So what's happening is and the Democratic Party is just losing their way. They're losing their footing. They're losing their voice. They have no leadership. They're crazy. People truly believe that they're crazy in this country. They don't identify. They're walking away for so many people, and conservatives in this country are capturing those very people because no one agrees with this. No one agrees with their policy. No one agrees with open borders. No one agrees with men that are 6'5", my height, swimming in collegiate women's sports.
Yeah.
No one agrees with this stuff. No one agrees with the way Pritzker's running Illinois and Chicago, where you have 70 shootings last week, and my father's trying to help, and they're just denying all requests. People want sanity in the world. Americans are the greatest people in the world. They want sanity, and the Democratic Party is leaving them.
125,000, by the way, to get back to Charlie Kirk, Eric, new chapter request for Turning Point USA. So yeah, you're right. You have no idea what you have unleashed, I believe Erica Kirk said. You did say this was a dark conversation. We usually have more fun conversations. So in the last 60 seconds, I will pivot to that. How many dogs has your wife, Laura, now roped you into having at the house?
Quite a few. I've got 4 dogs running around the house right now, all rescues. Yeah. Laura Trump's love of rescue animals. So, and by the way, I'm the biggest sucker. I go, honey, no more dogs. Like, this is crazy. No more dogs. then she'll bring one home. She just brought home a little mutt beagle named Betty, this little female. And Betty's she's my little girlfriend. I mean, she goes everywhere with me. And so I become a sucker in 2 seconds, but Laura's more for rescue animals. She's an amazing person. And we love the dogs.
Yeah, loves dogs. And, when I was at Mar-a-Lago for New Year's Eve and I ran into you guys, she's one hell of a singer. I had no idea. I know she's put out videos before, but live, she was even better.
She does everything well. She'll do more pull-ups than any Trump member by far.
Oh, really?
She certainly has better cardio than any Trump. She's a hell of a singer. She's the nicest of all of us. She's the prettiest of all of us. So she's an amazing woman, amazing mom, amazing wife, and I'm incredibly fortunate.
you, like me, over your skis and out kicked your coverage, as they say. Under Trump, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. That is the book. It already is a bestseller. Get them while you can before they sell out, even though I have a feeling they're going to make many more copies. But yes, buy that book today. It is a great read. And again, so many revealing things about Eric Trump, from his early days in the Trump family, obviously, to his dad running for president, and then everything that has happened afterwards. But in the end, happy ending. Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. Eric Trump, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with your book tour. You're going to be exhausted in about 3 weeks. That I can guarantee you.
Thanks so much, Joe.
All right. Thanks, Eric. And this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Foundation Show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's bring in Sean Farish. He got a good retweet. I've been retweeted a couple times by the president, and it's amazing how your phone can blow up when that happens. Because, especially when during the first term, Trump would do it on Twitter, and he has something like 90 million followers on there, has millions on Truth Social now for Trump 2.0 as well. And sure enough, Sean Farish, who does the best Trump imitation I've ever heard. And there's a lot of people that are doing it. It could be, a lucrative business. It's the type of business that gives you a huge TikTok following, for example, like Sean has. But this is the very best. And not because it's not just the tone and inflection that he has perfectly. It's the content. It's just I swear, there's a reason why the president retweeted Sean recently for one imitation they did about the government shutdown. And you're going to hear it in a moment. But Sean, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Joe, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Now, everybody out there in the New York area listening, Sean was smart enough to get out of Long Island, just like many of you are smart enough to get out of Manhattan or Brooklyn, the Bronx, New Jersey, Long Island itself as well, and moved to Tennessee. I know so many people that have done this, whether it's my friend Tommy Lahren, Clay Travis, Pete Hegseth, before he became Secretary of War, lived in New Jersey, realized the property taxes here are insane, and got out. So was it mainly an economic decision for you, Sean? Was it cultural? Was it all of those things?
It was all of those things. It was politics. It was economics. It was the fact that when I was dating my now wife, but then girlfriend, she's from Florida. She's like, "Why do you live here?" So it's one of those things. It's kind of like, it was time to get out. It was 2022. We decided to leave. We moved out in January of 2023. We lived in the Nashville area for a year, got away from that because it's a blue kind of area of Tennessee, and then lived in Murray County last year, right around Spring Hill, where the old Saturn plant used to be. And now we bought a home. We bought a home in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So it's been great. It's been everything that we could have wanted and more.
I mean, I hear such great things about Tennessee, living there, and especially when you're more out of the city limits and into the suburbs, and whether it's east to the Smoky Mountains or anywhere for that matter. Do you guys have kids now at this point?
No, we're not right now, but we are finally happy to be done moving. We've moved 4 times in like the last 3 years.
Isn't it the worst?
So we're kind of just planning. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Especially when it's in the winter. Everyone's like, Tennessee, not bad winters. I'm like, no, it gets to like 20 degrees, just doesn't snow. So
yeah, exactly.
It's so cold, but it was, it's nice to be settled, and it's nice to be settled in a state here that doesn't demand that I fork over a limb, for my electricity or anything like that.
Oh, electricity's so bad here in New Jersey. I mean, I got my bill, and I thought it was a zip code. I'm like, that's a zip code. Wait, that's the actual bill? And we don't even use a lot of lights. I'm constantly shutting off in the house. It doesn't make you made the right move. I'm telling you, especially with the school systems, you absolutely made the right move if you're going to go public school down there. And we're talking to Sean Farish. Yeah, I want to play the imitation that I teased earlier, and we're going to play it in full. Kind of a rule in radio: you're not supposed to go in a soundbite for more than like 20, 30 seconds. But this was that good. I said, let's just play the whole thing. And then I want to ask you on the other side, like where you come up with this material, because again, I think that's the best part about this, besides the invitation itself. This is the Sean Farish cut, guys. Go.
Hola, mi fellow Americanos, y bienvenidos al cierre de Schumer. That means welcome to the Schumer shutdown. We call it the Schumer siesta, right? It's the Schumer siesta. We put the government on siesta, crying Chuck. And El Hakimo Jefe Jeffries, we used to call him Dollar Store Obama, until we realized he's worth far less than $1. But they put the government on siesta to give illegal aliens your health care. We're not going to let it happen. I looked at both of them. I said, we're not going to let it happen. It's no bueno. I said, it's no bueno. They begged me. They said, but senor, por favor, please give illegal aliens the health care. I said, we're not going to do it. We're never going to do it. It's not going to happen. And they're also very upset about our big, beautiful sombreros. You look at them. These are the greatest sombreros the world has ever seen. We really have the best sombreros, and everybody wants one except Crying Chuck and El Hakimo Jefe Jeffries. They don't want one, but they're going to wear one when all is said and done. We're going to end the siesta. We're going to reopen the government, and we will not give in to the demands of Chuck and El Jefe. We're not going to do that. Thank you. God bless you. Dio lo bendiga. And God bless America. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Oh, that's perfection. The judges give it a 10. I like the repeat because that's what Trump is really known for. It's no bueno. No bueno. You know, they're calling it the Schumer shutdown. Schumer shutdown. I mean, the mariachi band, how long did it take you to conjure that up? Because obviously, like, the shutdown was only a day or two old when you came out with this. But, I mean, it's just perfect.
So thank you. So on Tuesday of last week was when the sombreros were going crazy.
Yeah.
And I was actually hanging out in X Space with it's called The Political Theater. It's not my space, but I jumped in and we did like a kind of like a pseudo press conference type deal. And I do this in X Spaces all over the place. It's a lot of fun for me as like a creative exercise.
Yeah.
You know, I used to love the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? Improv. Like, I don't know what anyone's going to ask me, but they think they're asking the president a question or they act like it. And it's fun for me to kind of go through it as a creative exercise. So the idea kind of came from that, kind of in exchanges in that space. And obviously the fact that the sombreros were going viral early last week in anticipation of the shutdown. So literally about last Wednesday, I got up a little earlier and I put my sombrero on and my poncho on and just, sat in front of the camera and recorded it until I had something that I thought felt good and posted it. And then, the rest is history, really. I could not believe, and I couldn't imagine, right? The president of the United States sitting somewhere looking at his phone and just going, look at this guy. This guy's pretty good, right? He's a lot better than Alec Baldwin. You look at Alec Baldwin, he's a whack job. This guy's pretty good. So I don't want to know. I do want to know, but I don't know how he wound up seeing everything. It was everywhere. But I'm happy that he liked it. I'll say that.
I mean, were you using, and we're talking to Sean Farish, Trump imitator, and, as a great podcast as well, I should very much mention, Ungoverned on LFA TV. Were you using, because I'll admit, for something that long, I would need some notes just to kind of stay on the rails. So I had to do like a promotional video for this show yesterday, and I put a little note card below it just with a couple of bullets just to kind of keep me somewhat near the script that, I kind of came up with as far as promoting the show. Did you have anything, or that's just all off the cuff?
No, that wasn't off the cuff. I wrote some stuff down, but not a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like you're reading.
I have two things written down. I have Bienvenidos al cierre de Schumer, which is welcome to the Schumer shutdown.
Right. And
Dio lo bendiga, which is God bless you in Spanish, apparently. So those were the only two things I wrote down because I don't speak Spanish, So I wrote those down just to not miss those things. The rest of it, I kind of just let it flow. And I took, 8 or 9 takes and kind of waited until one felt good, and that was the one that felt good.
Yeah, clearly, and already nearly 2 million views on this just from one X post alone. So that's a new world not new world. It's been around for a couple of years, but that's the way everybody has their own television studio, and you can get retweeted by the President of the United States. And we're talking to Sean Farish. Right. Speaking of past presidents, so I want to play a little game with you. And basically, I want to go through what I think were the 4 best presidential imitators since I was alive, and I'm older than you. So we got to go back to Reagan for this one. But let's play cut 1 first. I want you to rank Rich Little doing Ronald Reagan. This is Rich Little. Go.
Do you know, Judge, that things are so bad right now in America that the mafia had to lay off 3 judges?
I was a judge. I take that personally.
Yep, and that's Judge Jeanine Pirro, of course, that Rich Little was talking to on Fox News back in the day. So where do you rank Little? Have you watched Little in the past as far as any ideas or pointers as far as how to do Trump?
Well, it's crazy. When I first started going viral for the Trump impersonation, the number one comparison that I kept getting was Rich Little. Like, you're like Rich Little. And I didn't know who that was at first. I watched. He is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I went to school for radio. I did a lot of voices. I mean, maybe hard to imagine, but I was kind of a class clown. They called me Robin Williams in some of these classes just because I was able to do dialects and voices. Unfortunately, this is, before he took his own life, which was tragic. But I never heard of Rich Little until I started getting compared to Rich Little. And he's phenomenal. And I'll give that Reagan a 10 out of 10. All
right. There you go. I've met Rich Little. And the thing that gives him an advantage and why he would get on Carson, because he kind of looked like Reagan. Like, in other words, when you could not do much to kind of look like the guy you're imitating, that's incredible. All right. Let's do our next president. This will be George H.W. Bush, Dana Carvey, Saturday Night Live fame, Wayne's World, obviously, as well. It was great in that and in many other roles. But Carvey was so good and was so, I want to say, gentle with his imitation that George H.W. Bush actually invited him to perform at the White House with Bush and Barbara Bush there. So it's a different world compared to the Alec Baldwins, which would never happen in a billion years with Trump, of course. But let's play Dana Carvey doing George H.W. Bush, guys. Go.
None of us want war in that whole area out over there. But as Commander-in-Chief, I am ever cognizant of my authority to launch a full-scale orgy of death there on the desert sand.
I mean, that's excellent as well.
It's good stuff. I'll give that one a 9.5. I think that was good. Not as good as Rich Little with Ronald Reagan. And maybe that is because Rich Little does resemble Ronald Reagan. That's one of my favorite things, too. People are like, I look at your face, and then I hear Trump's voice come out of your mouth. I don't understand how that works. I say, yeah, you got a dollar store version of Bradley Cooper on the screen with gigantic ears, but somehow I sound like Donald Trump. So.
Oh, my wife went to college with Bradley Cooper at Georgetown, and she's always like, I don't know how I missed him. I'm like, well, he wasn't Bradley Cooper. That's why he's just another guy.
Right.
But yeah, that's true. So you're what, in your 30s, 20s?
Yeah, I'm 34.
34. Okay.
I think.
So for you to do Trump, after a while you lose track. I agree. Have you ever dressed up like Trump to do Trump?
Yeah, I've done the suit in a few videos and a few live appearances and things, the wig. It just doesn't feel right. One of the things that I like to do, I support Trump. I'm a big Trump supporter. And so, I don't want to clown him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll poke fun maybe a little bit here and there about, little things. I do, a bit. I taught Tiger Woods how to golf. He wouldn't have been named Tiger if it wasn't for me. It was his name was Eldrick, Joe. His name was Eldrick when he came out, but I said, you got to name him Tiger. That's tough. You got to be tough and strong. So I would do little things like that. But I'm not trying to take away from him. That you have these people on the left, SNL, these folks who want to impersonate him to clown him. I feel like it becomes too much of a caricature or circus act. I'm trying to advance that cause, right? I'm all about MAGA and all that. So my favorite comments, whether it's on TikTok or YouTube, or any of these comments, are from leftists who are like, I hate the man, but that was funny. Okay. And I go, all right, you were exposed to some truth. I've got my accomplishments met here.
I wonder if SNL will ever come calling. I get the feeling they won't for whatever reason, for the exact reasons you just laid out, especially being the Trump supporter part. I'll give you one more since we're a little low on time. And this is Daryl Hammond doing Bill Clinton back in the 90s with a cameo from Monica Lewinsky. Let's play that cut. Go.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, Monica. I was just going to call you.
Gosh, it's like we have the same brain. I really miss you. So what are you doing?
Well, I got Saddam on the other line. Looks like there ain't going to be a war.
Well, that bites.
Totally. Anyway.
Say, I go 10 with that as well, because he also looked like Clinton.
Yeah, I'll go 10 with that. I think that was good. I got a friend here in Tennessee who does a pretty good Bill Clinton. The first time I met him, he was like, "Oh my gosh, you're the Trump guy." He's like, "Wait, listen to this," and he started doing Bill Clinton, and I was like, "Oh, there's a potential bit here. Like, let's keep kicking some ideas around." So a lot of fun. That was really good.
Absolutely. And Sean Farish, thanks again for joining us. I mean, this is awesome. I know the crowd is going to really reach out to me on this one. And you hopefully get some Twitter followers here as well. Very easy. At Sean, SHAWN_Farish on X, Ungoverned on LFA TV. Please do tune in for that podcast as well. Sean Farish, let's have you back again. Thanks again. That was awesome.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it.
All right. This is the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Foundation Show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat.
It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Okay, admit it. If you've been listening for the full hour, this was one of the better shows we've had, right? Yep. We've had some fun, and obviously that conversation with Eric Trump, let's just say, yeah, he has every right to be pissed off after everything they tried to do to his father. But as I said, the happy ending is that Trump overcame all of it, kept up the fight, and now is the 47th president by winning the popular vote in every swing state and obviously fulfilling all of his promises. Even CNN polls show that voters say that, yeah, he's doing exactly what he said he would do. And again, the amazing part about this is that we're not even 10 months in. Feels like 6 years, but it's always an active day and easy to do a radio show as a result when you have a Trump in office and Democrats becoming completely loco. Anyway, he's not so much loco, I guess. Let's just say when you run over a really big nail on a highway, your tire tends to go flat in those situations, right? And Jon Stewart now has the perfect analogy for Chuck Schumer, who is probably soon to be Senate minority leader, because either he's not going to run again or he'll get primaried and get destroyed by like an AOC, which is an even scarier prospect. But here's Jon Stewart on Chuck Schumer trying to be funny. Cut to go.
New data came out today from KFF. And that is not Kentucky Fried French fries. KFF could be Kentucky French fries.
No, it couldn't.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, man.
Who is that joke even for? 6-year-olds that watch C-SPAN? What the are you doing? Chuck Schumer is a human flat tire.
Oh. Yep, there it is. That's very good. Very good. Human flat tire. Yeah, hard to argue with that. Stewart, when he wants to go after both sides, could be quite good. Anyway, let's go next to, because this is so good, AOC is now height-shaming people, which is interesting, and goes after Stephen Miller, who I met at the White House not too long ago, in person for the first time. We're always on segments, or he used to be anyway, on Hannity and the like on Fox, but I never actually met him. And he's 5'10", he's normal height. Like, you don't think like, oh, that guy's really short. Like, no, he's a normal height for an average American guy. But AOC decided to go down this road of going after Stephen Miller's height because she has no argument on immigration. This is cut 5. Go.
Stephen Miller is a clown. I've never seen that guy in real life, but he looks like he's like 4'10", and he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10".
Primetime measured Miller, he's 5'10", with no shoes on.
Yep.
He told us, quote, "It sounds like AOC needs a new therapist."
That was Jesse Waters putting the icing on the cake right there as far as the analysis of AOC. And look, this person may run for president in 2028, and she may get the nomination because, boy, the media loves her, and she has a big social media following. And, even though she hasn't passed one piece of legislation, hasn't even co-sponsored anything that's actually gotten to the House floor, she has as good a chance as anybody, her and Newsom, or maybe that'll be the ticket. But this is an adolescent who just runs to TikTok and makes videos that even a 13-year-old would say, hey, isn't that kind of immature? So that's that on that. Anyway, let's go with our final clip because this is a great way to end this segment. Katie Porter, of course, wants to be governor of California, and she has this anger management problem and treats people really, really poorly. As this clip shows, this is Katie Porter, 24 seconds. Go.
To air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my shop.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shop before that. Stay out of my shop. Okay, I'm going to start again.
Now, you guys are listening to this on radio, but trust me, if you find the clip, and it's everywhere, it's been seen like something like tens of millions of times, it's the look on this woman's face where, not the most aesthetically pleasing, okay? And the fact that she has such disdain for a staffer who simply wanted to correct her before she made, an idiot of herself by saying something that wasn't true. And it's a taped video, so it's not like she walked into a live shot and then just to go off on her. And apparently, Mark Halpern now is reporting that there are many more videos to come because she has so many disgruntled ex-staffers that have videos like this, that this is just going to be a steady stream to the point where I think Steve Hilton, my friend and colleague from Fox News, could very well be the next Republican governor of California. Can you believe it? And Elise Stefanik right now running neck and neck with Kathy Hochul. So things may be changing in these blue states, and it's all because Democrats have lost their friggin' minds. Anyway, thanks so much for joining today. We had some great guests, didn't we? Eric Trump and Under Siege is the new book. And then, of course, Sean Faresh, who does the best Trump imitation out there. The president even retweeted him. So go back and listen to the podcast. You missed any of this, but either way, we'll be back next Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This is the Joe Concha Tunnel of Towers Sunday Morning Foundation Show. See you when I see you. Bye-bye.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steamfitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and deadly working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4da.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.